and do the day. I'm in love with the real, cause these other boys are fake. With this money, no delay. What else can I say? I just want the cake. Yeah, I just want the cake.
Yeah, so you're holding on to this.
Bunch of them, yo.
I just want the cake. I came in for the cake. So you ain't nasty, niggas, I can't see you cause the money in the way. And I'm all about the cake.
Still be saying gotta do it. East Sideways Part 2.
Yo, you know what's funny? Yesterday I heard a beat and I'm like, I gotta lay something down because I know I'm linking up with this nigga tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna have something for you in like the next week still.
Sick. Whenever you're ready.
Enough said.
That was an anthem.
I was still. We here. We back. Where we at? It's episode 6. Check Your Ego podcast. Nesso in the building. X in the building.
Yes, sir.
We brought a special guest today. The prolific
It's one way to
Tattoo
put
Kosa.
Yeah.
You know, we've known each other for a long time. We share a lot of similarities when it comes to views on things, and you know, I think at this point in his life, in my life, we have a lot of common goals. X as well. So we say, you know what, this is the perfect dude to bring through for this week's episode. He has a lot of stuff going on for himself right now as well. So I'm not gonna take up too much time. I'm gonna let him tell you what it is with him and what he does. Go ahead, man.
You know, Kosa, a lot of people know me. I'm in Durham. I've been tattooing for like 11 years now. 11
Crazy.
years.
Crazy. All of that.
Tattooed a lot.
Crazy.
You know what I mean?
You know? It's crazy because it started from the basement. You know, people just come by, hit a 1-2 like little shit tattoo, and years later you see what happens when you just stick to something.
You grind it out.
Yeah.
Growth.
Yeah.
That's for real. Let me just say this, yo. Like, yo, if you don't know who this guy is, bro, like, you know, you're not from the area, cause like I feel like almost everybody is either known about this guy or has work done by him. So you know, you can plug in, you know, the name of your spot.
Oh yeah, Skin Poultry Tattoos.
That's what's up.
You know, I'm on Bowmanville, Fades and Tats. It's also a barbershop.
Yes,
You know, just bring a little slice of the urban community to a less urban area. One location at a time.
Mm-hmm.
We franchising, baby.
Yeah. But we here today, man. How we getting it today?
Man, there's a lot of things that you know, just to roll it out this week. You know, every week we try to come with some fresh new stuff. You know, just with different takes on it. You know,
You had a sip before we continue. Every man had a sip.
Oh, shit.
It's gonna be one of those episodes today. You know what I mean? It's gonna be one of those episodes.
yo, this is to like, you know, this is to
To
life,
tattoos,
dog.
booze, and good food.
that in life, man. You
to
gotta
life,
appreciate the
progression.
another day above ground, man.
Absolutely.
Facts.
But yeah, let's jump right into it, man. So like, a lot of things I want to talk about. We're at the age now where we're adults, man. We're not like young adults, and some of us may see it as we're still young, but we're not the 20. We're not in that age bracket where we're just hitting the adulthood. We're at that age where we're now. This is who we are. You know what I'm saying? We're adults in the way that we think. We have our own families. We have our own structures. We're doing our own things, making our own decisions. You know, just having you on the, you know, just part of the, you know, the environment today. You know, some things that I was aware. You know, your child now is roughly around the age of 1. You said.
Yeah.
Age of 1. So let's just talk about it, man. We're all having kids, you know what I mean? We're all having, you know, starting our own families. Talk about, like, when you heard that you were, you know, on your way to start a family, how was that feeling?
Man, I think a lot of people the first time, because there's 2 different ways that you kind of come to terms with you're having a kid. First is, like, she's pregnant. But, you know, the reality is, like, just because she's pregnant doesn't mean that you're going to be a dad. She's just pregnant.
Jeez.
And then after, when it's like, yo, I'm actually gonna do this, that's another realization. And maybe, and let me know if you feel differently, I'd say even a third realization is like when the kid's there. Because when she's pregnant, like, she's a mother from the moment she knows she's pregnant because it's growing in her. you're a father in like in theory until you actually see the baby, until the baby exits.
It's a different type of connection.
Yeah, you know, then it's like, oh shit, yeah, it's not just an idea. This is something that like you're here, you're in front of me, I see you. Like this
you
is
can
real.
physically
now.
touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know,
That's real. I didn't even think about that way, and it's good that you're sharing that because, like, again, that's why it's good that you guys can both chime in on situations like that. Because, like, I never even thought about that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's some real. Like that hit me deep. I'm now sitting here thinking about that whole process now.
I mean, did you plan on having a kid? Like,
Nah,
or was it just-
we planned on having fun, and then, you know, fun
Yeah.
things lead to joyful things.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, I would say like my process is a little bit different because it was a bit more planned. Like I was expecting to have a kid with my daughter's mom, right? So it wasn't really. I felt like a father right away. You know what I mean? When I heard, I'm like, yo, I knew this was gonna happen. I wanted this to happen. I'm excited for this. So right out the gate, I felt like a father. I already geared up for that. I was mentally prepared for that.
Yeah.
So
That's good. That's two different takes because I feel like in society that we live in, that's literally how we live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, that's two different takes right there. So that's interesting. Now we talk about. I want to get into this a little bit because I'm now fascinated with this topic. I want to talk about like when you were having a child. Was there like a preference for you in which child that you wanted to have?
A son.
Your son? I think that's just by nature.
Not just because, like, you know, I'm a guy, I want to have a son, but, like, you know, I have my grandfather's name. I wanted to pass on the legacy.
Okay, cool.
You know, and, like, shit, yo, you know, I'm not going to lie. I just think having a daughter would have made me be a different person. And I don't know if at that time of my life, what I was going through, what I was doing, if I would have easily transitioned over to being that person for a daughter. You know, like I feel like where I am in life, even right now, is to pass on certain wisdom and knowledge and love to my son. If I have a daughter later on in life, it's a bit of a different story, but I just feel like the way my cards were lined up was like I'm gonna have a son. Personally, for me.
So
I feel that. Yeah, I wanted a boy just because I already had the name picked out. To be honest, keep it short. But deep down, I knew I was having a girl, and I felt like basically the opposite the way that you felt. I felt that it was time for me to experience a new perspective outside of being a man. You know what I mean? And I felt like the best way, the easiest way for me to do that was experience raising a young woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, come on, man.
it's work calling. It's work calling.
But yeah, I knew deep down it was a girl. I was happy for that, and
Did you do
it
a
did change
gender
me.
reveal?
No, we didn't do a gender reveal.
Okay.
It
I think that
it definitely did change me though. Like exactly what you spoke on, it definitely changed me.
Do you think having a girl would change you in a way where it's like a faster growth period? Because I feel like a boy, we can like we can do things a little bit differently. With
know
a
what it
girl
is.
now,
Yeah.
With a girl now, that's the other gender now, so it's different conversations. It's different. Like you got to handle yourself differently,
100%.
and now you start to see women a little bit different because now you have a daughter.
100%.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. What I've told my friends was like before we did the gender reveal was that I could raise a little me and tell him don't make the mistakes I made.
Right.
That's a lot easier than having to actually look at things from a completely different perspective. You know, all you gotta tell your son is like, don't go around knocking up a lot of females. And even if he did, realistically, it doesn't even hit home the same way as your daughter coming home saying some asshole knocked me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, those two different sentences hit way, way different.
That's a fact.
So I feel like for me, I've always just been like, okay, just don't make mistakes I made, rather than like, holy shit, like avoid this whole type of male. You know, that's like avoid the kind of people that I may or may not hang out with, and I don't know. You know, like how many of us have brethren where we're like, oh my god, you cannot talk to my sister, cousin, even while you're around, like half my female friends. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like,
a fact.
It's crazy because like yeah, I promise you when I say this, we all think about this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I think the biggest challenge for me, not having a child in this world, but I think the biggest challenge for me would be to have a girl and just being ready for those type of conversations that are not as easy for me to have when I'm having with my son. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, your son don't do XYZ because you lived that route. You know what I mean? Not to say that you lived a bad way, but you've lived a certain way where you're just like, yo, you could probably stay away from these different things, or I can show you the better way. Having a girl now, again, their mindsets are totally different. You know what I mean? Totally. They think a little bit different than the way we think, and I say a little just to, you know.
Well, I mean, like
they think differently.
I have a son. I'm not gonna have to worry about like, you know, certain things that are just more geared towards like the other gender feeling,
right?
Like monthly or the first period. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not mature enough for that. I have no fucking idea. Like because usually when I think of it, I'm like, what if I was my age right now and I had a 13-year-old daughter and she's like, Dad, I got my period. It's like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, so with the son, it's like, okay, I will never experience this. Good luck. I will never experience this, though, right? You know?
Yeah, I'm ready to embrace that. To be honest, I look forward to that. I really do look forward to that because that's a challenging point for me. To me, that's the ultimate growth. To be able to sit across the opposite sex that came from me. You feel what I mean? And have those conversations. I think that's a deeper connection. And if I'm able to convey the right things to her, I think that bond will be that much stronger and she'll be that much more prepared for life.
Definitely.
Regardless of the fact, you know, what gender you do have, I think the best moments in life is when you see your child grow up and see who they become. Because that'll ultimately show who you are as a parent, whether you have a girl, boy, you know, whether their sex orientation is XYZ, depending on how they grow up and seeing them being a functioning member. Yeah, with their what they stand upon in life, those would be the greatest feelings in life. So, you know, you guys obviously have different childs in the world, you know, different genders in the world. So, you know, I think the thing for you guys can look out for is to see when they grow up, to see who they become and, you know, see how they stand on.
And to notice, like, okay, if they do something that you don't like, where did they pick it up from? Was it from you? Was it from your partner?
Yeah.
Is it from influence that could be from your family, your partner's family, their friends, your friends? You know, it's what they stand on is being shaped by so many different variables that at any given moment you can't pinpoint. Because I know there's certain aspects of me that I picked up when I was like 6 years old from people that aren't in my life at all right now, but I still hold those values to this day because they meant something at the time and I grew with it, right?
That's deep. Me and this dude were actually talking about that the other day, and just
we're getting at it a little bit.
Yeah, just
it's conversation.
It was basically it's misunderstandings, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we were all on the same page. We were just coming at it from different angles. But yeah, you know, those outside influences that can occur from anywhere in life. They start in the home, but they can come at you from anywhere in the world. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? And they can shape you. That's a big thing, I think, with every parent. If you think on that level, if you think that deeply, because you can do XYZ for your kid, and you know, like you were saying, I really thought about it. You can lead your kid down the right path, and one day, let's say they're walking home, and they get jumped, and they never want to experience that again. So what do now? They walk around strapped.
They want to protect themselves. So you know, that can go left real easy. But I feel like, you know, if you're a parent and you've built that trust with your kid, they can have that conversation with you. Like, yo, listen, I don't feel safe. That's why I'm walking with this. And at that point, as a parent, you could be like, you know, these things are gonna happen in life, and the only thing you can control, the only variable you can control is yourself. Reactions.
Exactly. You could walk with this on you, but guess what type of energy that's gonna bring.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Or you can acknowledge that that happened, and you can move on from that and learn from that, and learn maybe you shouldn't be in certain circles, or maybe you should adjust the way that you move in life so that type of thing doesn't happen to you again. Because everything that happens to a person, it'll shape you, and there's something to learn from it. No matter how bad it is, no matter how fucked up it is, there's always something to learn from it. It's just, are you geared towards seeing that? You feel what I mean?
I think from a good standpoint too is like understanding. You kind of said it, but you kind of passed by it pretty quickly. Is like a lot of things that happen in life are not what you control. You know what I mean?
Honey.
A lot of stuff gets blown your way. It's how you react to it. So it's like, being able to teach your child or being able to teach somebody, some things are just not in your hands. You know what I mean? You can't just pull that card and be like, I want it to happen this way. You got to learn how to react to certain things and handle yourself when things don't go your way. And we touched upon this in previous episodes, but I think a big portion of this, and I think we should, talk about it, is you got to be able to understand that, if something happens in life, you get fired from your job or whatever that happens, you got to be able to control your emotions and think through it. You know what I mean? You got to be able to think and respond correctly.
Yeah. Okay, but how do you teach someone to react to something you may have never experienced? For example, I don't know about you guys, my parents are from Africa.
Right.
So, me growing up, I experienced racism, but they never experienced racism because they're from a place where the majority of people look like them. They're teachers, from teachers to janitors, taxi drivers, most of the people that they encountered look like them. I experienced racism, so when I'm trying to explain to them that I'm getting mad, I'm getting pissed off, I'm reacting like this, all the advice they could give me, they couldn't actually relate to because they have never actually gone through it the way that I went through it as a child. When they went through things that were racist, and that's just one aspect of something on the topic, they were already adults. You know what I'm saying? So how do you prepare yourself to teach someone how to react?
So it's interesting you say racism, because racism is always going to be there. No matter what you do in life, racism is going to be,
Right.
racism is always going to be, in society. One thing I can also say right now is always be able to grow and adapt to situations. Always be willing to learn something new. That way you can actually experience it and talk to your child about it. You know what I mean? I can tell you that XYZ may come up in your life, and you know what I mean? Just be ready for it. You know what I mean? Just brace yourself for when it happens and how you're going to respond to it. That's the only thing I can say, man. Because that's a good example. Your parents haven't experienced it. How can they guide
you through something that they're like, oh shit, yeah,
It's foreign to them.
Yeah.
Well, until a later portion of their life, anyways.
Yeah.
Where they're mature enough to deal with it. Yeah, man.
But I think for us in our age right now, I think we're starting to reach that comfortability stage where we're working full time. You know what I'm saying? Most of our days caught up. We're getting to our families, and we're just gonna continue to flow. We're gonna continue the course that we've been on. I always think that you should continue to grow. A lot of people say 2020's been a hell of a year. I mean, that's how you see it, right? That's how you see it.
Yeah.
For the rest of society, for the people who've actually done something, whether it be picking up a book, researching certain things. Always before we come on the show, we talk about all the different things that we want to do. You know what I mean? All the things that we're starting. You know what I'm saying? It's continue to grow ourselves. It's come out that comfort zone. Never be too comfortable. If you're making XYZ dollars, perfect. That's cool. You know what I mean? But how far can you push it? And can you teach your skills to someone else? I think the biggest testimony to how much you know and how educated you are is if you can teach that knowledge to someone else. So again, that's where I was bringing in the newborns and passing on your knowledge, because I think.
Legacy.
You could talk about it, right? You could talk about is how much you know and what can you pass on to someone else, because that'd be a testament of how much you've actually experienced in life.
And how well you know whatever it is, You can know a lot, you could not know any of it well and not able to pass it on to somebody, right?
Right.
So I guess it's processing information as well as just what information you know. And knowing your audience, being that on this topic, the child. Knowing how to speak to the child in a way where that the way you raise them, this is the way that their mind works, and like this is how they're gonna process the information. You get what I'm saying?
For real. I got another one, man. It's let's say let's say you and your partner, right, are in a household, and your partner comes up with an idea. That's something that she's gonna take on as a hobby, or an activity that's gonna generate income, or it's something that she wants to take on, and you don't feel like it's something that's of value. How do you react to something like that? Do you fake support her, or do you encourage her? Because I feel like at this age, you're always gonna come up with ideas. Like, let's say if I'm dating a girl, and I want to start a business that's like a taxi company, but she doesn't really feel like the taxi company is gonna be booming because there's other taxi companies, a lot of competition. So how does she respond to me having this business idea? How would you respond to someone that you don't feel like it's something important, something of value?
I guess you gotta really check yourself first, and what makes you think that it's not of value? Is it just you don't like the idea? Because if I don't like the idea, well, in the grand scheme of things, who am I to dislike an idea? When I started tattooing, a lot of people could have been like, this is going nowhere.
Right.
After X amount of years, now I can be like, I'm a success. So because I personally went through that, I can't ever just knock anyone's idea, whatever it is they want to do. So do your research. If you feel this is something that can work for you, go for it. I'll support you as much as I can,
That's what's up.
which is based off what I know about it or how you want to be supported. If you just want my advice, my opinion, me to look up stuff for you, sure, not a problem. But, end of the day, if it's her own project, her own path, I can walk with her, but I can't walk for her,
Yeah, yo, I agree with that. For the most part, I think it comes down to just like product research.
Yeah.
Make sure you put in the time to know what you're actually trying to invest into, and make sure that you're, if like over everything else, that you're gonna be dedicated to it. Because it's one thing to have an idea, but it's another thing to actually follow through with the idea and execute on all the steps. But at the same time, like I'm gonna tell her the truth. If I do feel like it's not a good idea, I'm gonna say that. I'm not gonna say it in a disrespectful way.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say it in a way. I'm obviously gonna give you my reasons and why I think it's not a good idea. And the reason for me doing that is because I would expect that from my partner. If I'm in a relationship with you, I want you to be supportive, obviously, but I want you to be able to challenge certain things and make me think outside the box. So if I'm thinking, you brought up taxi, right? Say I want to start a taxi business right now, and I think it's a good idea, but you might be a little bit more educated in that field as my girl, or you might just be more in tune with what's going on around right now, and you'll say, look, I get you want to do that. It could potentially work, but look at the way the future's going right now. Taxis are becoming obsolete. That's probably not a good idea to do. So if you come at it like from that type of standpoint, with with you just caring about me and caring about the success that you want to see me have, then I don't think it's a problem to disagree with me. I don't think it's an issue to challenge me. But if you're trying to come at it from any other type of way, then yeah, it could be a little bit of an issue. But it comes down to research, you know what I mean, and just knowing your partner, because you should be able to have those conversations. You're not going to agree with everything when in a relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And it's just to hear these conversations now, and I'm just asking the question. I'm hearing you guys speak. You had one perspective where you're just gonna support her. You know what I mean? You're gonna.
It's not so much that I'll just support it, but it's just like I can't knock it.
You're not. You're checking your own self first.
Yeah.
That's basically the standpoint you're coming from. You're
yeah.
checking your own self first and make sure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
100%.
Like, if it's a bad idea, like just a well-rounded bad idea, it's like, as he said, not in a disrespectful way, but just like, yo, that ain't it. Maybe try and offer a suggestion if I have one. But like, for the most part, it's like I'm gonna check myself, and I'm gonna be like, I'm not just gonna be like, just shut it down. That's it's a messed up thing, especially if like you're in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So this person's looking at you for guidance,
support for sure.
And then it's like, if you just shut down every single thing for no reason, or if you just agree to everything blindly, it's just
fake love.
Yeah, it's hollow, it's shallow, right? It's not. That's what.
It's got to
you
be a
wanna
balance.
avoid. Yeah,
It's got to be a balance for real.
The reason why I bring this up is because a few episodes back we talked about having a woman that's being able to generate for herself, for her own self, whether it's knowledge, health, finances, whatever the case may be. So what if you have that person in your life who's able to kind of bring new things to the table, whether it's a business or sort of thing? How would you respond to her bringing a business into your relationship? So I definitely feel like for myself, I would even try my best to, even if she needs to break off from something, I would go do that other task for her, just so she spends a little bit more time to kind of get her business a little bit of a head start. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's like, she always picks up the kids and she's working on her business, and I know what it likes to start a business. There's a lot of groundwork that you need to come off the ground with. I'm sure both of you guys know, being creators, you know what I mean? There's a lot of groundwork that you need to do. So it's like, sometimes you need that little bit of support that, okay, you know what? I can make dinner today.
Yeah.
Are you ready to...
I'll support you by doing something to take off your workload.
The load,
Facts.
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
So
Just to give her that focus all day. So, again, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because if you are a creator and if you want to, create something and present it to the world, make sure you have that support system behind you that's ready to, engage and support you in every way.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a big thing, man.
Like, no one wants a shorty that doesn't support them too, right?
100%. I was just about to say that, ladies, it goes both ways. You know what I mean?
Both ways, 100%.
Both ways.
Like, you can't want to have a man that provides and not support what he's trying to do in order to provide.
Facts.
And
Facts.
fuck, I feel like a lot of women don't fully grasp that concept. There's a lot who do, but a lot really don't, because supporting somebody who's chasing their dream, especially not someone who's just working a job, someone who's trying to build their career, that's coming with serious sacrifice. Serious sacrifice. That's late nights, early mornings. He's frustrated because he tried something and it didn't work, and that's a huge shot at his pride and ego. So he might be
pockets.
Yeah, he might be acting different out of character, not because he's mad at you per se, but just he's mad at himself, maybe embarrassed even.
Yeah.
There's a lot that comes with supporting somebody.
I feel that. I feel that a lot. That struck a nerve. Any nigga that's out there grinding, trying to figure it out, and that's been in that position, that'll strike a nerve for sure.
100%, man.
And that support's gotta be. It can't be that fake support where you're just like you're just shallowly doing, like you said, like that hollow self. Just genuinely do it. You know what I'm saying? And don't be the type that like, I supported you this day, and why aren't you supporting me? Don't try to. Don't do it just to throw it back. Yeah, because that type of stuff is like you kind of build someone's character and you form an opinion of them, and then that's why it's just like, don't be that person, man. Don't be like, I supported you through your whole run while. Don't have to throw that back in their face. You know what I mean?
Ever throw it back in someone's face, because it's so disingenuous if you do. If you do something, you do it from your heart.
That's it.
Or don't do it.
Or just don't do it, because whether you support them or not, they're still gonna try to do it. So don't burn the image they have of you because you're angry and want to throw it back in their face. They're still chasing their dream. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's with or without you, period.
Man, a lot of this stuff, like, just like you said, sometimes it strikes a nerve because I've been through it. You know what I'm saying? I do say just slap my memory, dog.
What's the next topic that you had in mind? I'd like to flow these conversations.
Yeah,
man, one
real
thing,
shit.
One thing that's just like, structure the household, man. Because like one time I get when you like we talked about before, there's one thing to date a girl, right? You see her once in a while, you see her every other day. And there's another thing to live with her. And live with her, you see everything, right? What's the flow, the aura of the household? What's like, okay, you do this, I'll take care of this, and this. Is it one of those things? Or you guys just kind of find your pockets where you guys excel in? Is that the course?
I'll let you answer this first.
It's a bomb question still.
It is,
I feel like it depends on how you initially got into the relationship and how you guys started living together. Like, for me, how do I say this
appropriately on camera?
You know what I mean? It's one of those.
Because
like with my daughter's mom, we really didn't have that foundation of living together first and understanding each other's boundaries and understanding truly who each other are. We kind of moved into that type of situation while we were learning how to deal with the pregnancy at the same time.
Oh,
You feel what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah.
so it's like if we had established that first and we had lived together first,
Then make a difference.
it would make a much bigger difference because we would understand each other on a different level before bringing in a child into the world.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that our generation doesn't we don't particularly do too well. We move at such a fast pace.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you dating somebody and boom, a couple months later they're pregnant. Now you gotta adjust to that, and you're working off of that. You're reacting.
Yeah,
You're not planning.
yeah.
You're reacting off of that initial that initial change that's about to happen. So, it's kind of a scramble because you're like, how do we establish the balance in the household? We don't really have that because we didn't live together. We didn't understand each other. And now we have a kid. So now all of our attention has to go to the kid. So we're not even establishing a balance at that point. We're just reacting to, okay, the kid needs this. What's going on in the house? This, okay, we need to do this. And it gets crazy. You know what I mean?
It's like instead of it being like a triangle where it's like you guys both focus on the kid and both focus on each other, it just becomes an arrow where you both focus on the kid only.
Bro, it's more than an arrow. It's like
you know.
But I feel like it gets scary at times. You know what I mean? It gets kind of shaky where your foundation is not really set. Then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I would say is, adding to that, you definitely have to have that establishment before living together. You got to be best friends. You got to be best friends, to be honest. You got to be best friends because it's like, just because you're best friends doesn't mean that every day is going to be
a good day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hell no. You can still kick off, whatever. But at the end of the day, imagine living with somebody that day by day you realize more and more you don't like. It's like, who cares about the sex aspect of it? It's like, yo, I don't like you. And I live with you. And we are now, we're stuck in a lease. You know what I'm saying?
You're talking 100% facts right now, man.
Yeah,
like, yo.
bro, like,
a lot of people experience that through the quarantine, man. They realize, yo, I really don't even fuck with you.
Yeah, it's like, a lot of people through quarantine, I think they realize that, like, shit, was it worth it? Gonna, like, living with somebody that you don't like. Because once you stop liking someone, the small things piss you off.
Promise you, the small things. Like I let me cut you off here because this hit me this week. And I said this. I said this. Listen, when you love somebody, you'll let a lot of small things.
Absolutely.
You'll sweep a lot of small things under the rug. But once you stop loving them, you stop liking them. I promise you, the smallest thing. Your shoes are fucking. Pardon my language. Your shoes are off the mat. Yo, you come here just make a mess.
Yeah.
Bruh.
The shoes, you'll get mad at how they blink. It's like, why you blink like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it's real.
So what's the remedy to that? You think it's ultimately living together first?
No. I think you got to know how someone lives.
Right.
You got to come to terms with how you live.
Yeah.
And then you got to, like, for however long it takes, whether it's a couple months, whether it's a year, whether it's a couple weeks, I would never suggest a couple weeks. But you kind of have to, like, play that in your own head, like, what would us living together be like? And then, once you figure out whatever conclusion there is, you go from there. But a lot of people, you're right, a lot of people just fast. It's like, yo, we met on Monday, 3 Mondays later, I'm sleeping at her house 5 days a week. 4 Mondays after that, I'm moving in. It's like,
whoa.
You don't even know her.
Didn't you just meet this girl?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you doing that? Like, and then imagine doing that and having a kid. You know what I'm saying? Then it's like, you don't even know this person through 4 lunar cycles. Why are you doing this to yourself? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree with that, man. I agree with that. But the thing about that is you can envision it all you want, but you don't know until you actually make that step and you live with someone.
Yeah.
Because like we've talked about this on previous episodes. Naturally in relationships, men and women in the beginning, we all put on fronts.
Yeah.
We all want to impress the other person.
I think in nature they call it peacocking, right? You know, you're gonna present the best you in order to attract your mate. Like
100%.
You know,
That's a good way of putting it, bro. I might have to steal that one. I might have to steal that one.
So yo, we kind of had a debate about it. We didn't really go in too much of depth because it was just on the fly.
yeah.
So, who do you think does that more in a relationship, or in the beginning stages? Who would you think does that more, a man or a woman?
Shit. I'll probably say men.
It's 2-1.
You gotta touch it. You gotta touch it.
Yo,
Because you see something before.
To be honest, just like thinking of myself in like past scenarios where it's like, yo, I was totally this way, and then it's like, whoop-de-wah, and then it's like, man, I'm okay, yo, like, one foot's out the door already, you know? It's like, but it happens because, and another thing is like, you know, I feel like the emotional development of a relationship is at two different rates for men and women. For a man, it's like, you know, it might be a physical attraction, or like you're into a niche that she's into, and then it slowly builds towards something much more meaningful in the emotional side. But for women, how many women have gone through something? They might have daddy issues. As stereotypical as it sounds, this is life. They might have whatever issue going on in life where they're like, you know what, I'm ready to give somebody my all off the hop, and if I could give somebody my all off the hop, then maybe they'll do the same in return, and that's just not what happens.
Let me stop you right there, because you said it. You said men go off of looks initially, and this is a conversation that I had with X. Women have the ability to change their looks.
Yes.
So that itself is you putting on a front. You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're changing the way you look.
Depending on like how you look, depending on how you layer this question, right? Because you're completely right. A woman, and we've all seen those videos when they take off the
makeup tutorials, and it's
my
guy.
like, yo, what are you? You know, like,
I said, what are you?
Yeah, like, you know, I was like, I've been, you know, so depending, If we're gonna include that, and we're not just going off how they act, but we're going off appearance as well, then I'd have to agree with you, because, you know,
that's the first thing we notice. That's the first thing you notice about somebody, man or woman, is how they look.
There's a reason why so much of our brain is focused on the optical nerves, right?
100%.
It's because we are visual creatures. So, in that aspect, yes, I agree. But if we're gonna go on how somebody acts, then I'd have to say that, it's probably men that put on more of an initial front at the beginning.
Okay. Because
all three of us, we got brethrens that will say anything to shorty just to enjoy their night later, right? Right. Anything at all. It's like...
And I think just the way you summarized it versus the visual versus the actions, that's kind of the same way we're taking it the other time we were talking about. It's the same thing. Our actions change after a while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but they do have the ability to go all mystique on us, literally.
But I want to go back to the previous question that we talked about, where it was like, you know, living together and that sort of thing. One thing I just been listening right now was definitely the communication. I think part of it just kind of goes back to the whole purpose of us being here today, was the communication. One thing is to get to know your partner first before jumping into a situation, and have these deep conversations just to see how their mind works. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Well, that means if you need to kind of structure and you need to talk about certain things, then you know they kind of get it out open. And I think that kind of stays with you a lot longer. For me, like I've said this before, you know, when I'm meeting a girl, I gotta have a 1-2 conversations with her just to see how her mind thinks. You know what I'm saying? I don't always get fascinated with your looks. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. You know what I mean? If I'm gonna marry you, I'm not one of those guys gonna marry you because your body looks like, you know, an Instagram model. Like, that shit's cool to look at, but at the end of the day, I gotta spend the rest of my life with you. Also, I gotta have you raise my child. I gotta be able to bring you back to my mom's and be like, hey, mom, this is the person who I'm meeting. I gotta show you to my family. You know, I gotta be able to make sure that your mind is functioning on a proper note. You know what I mean? So, again, part of it is just to speak to your partner, just to see how they react in certain situations.
Not only just how they think, but you gotta know their family, and you gotta know where they stand. Man. Spiritually, not religiously, but spiritually.
100%.
Because she could speak the talk that you want, but her family might just, you know, it's like, do you want your child to be part of that family legacy as well. Or her family might be good, she might speak the talk you want, but like, you know, her spirit is like how she thinks morally, you know, like how she comes to conclusions and sleeps at night with doing or not doing certain things she could just be okay with, and that might rub you the wrong way, and the last thing you want is your spirit to feel unbalanced as you sleep beside someone day in, day out. You know?
That's deep, and I tell you, I promise you, a lot of people don't think that deep into it, and I think that's part of where we kind of fell off. And who's to blame? It's hard to point the finger, and I don't want to point the finger, but it's kind of get back into, you know, conversations like these where we talk about deep things like these. You know what I mean? You talk about stuff like that's a different element to it. You got to think about with her family, because when she's not with you and she goes to visit her family for those holidays, she bring her child with her, and her child's gonna see, or your child, sorry, is gonna see everything that their family's doing. You know what I mean? So that's definitely good. You want to make sure their side is in check as well.
Absolutely.
That's a big one. Yeah, man. You know, just trying to jump back into it, man. Conversation is key. Actions is key.
Yeah, communication. There is no relationship without communication. Communication is everything on every level, spiritual level, physical level, mental level. Like, you gotta have the communication.
Okay, so I got a question for you guys. What about culture? How much does culture play a role into relationships?
You talk like for our generation?
Yeah.
I don't.
And what is? How do you actually interpret that question as well?
Unless you're a cultured person yourself, meaning you know where you come from, or you strive to know where you come from, which is not the majority of our generation.
Which is so sad.
I don't think it does play too much of a factor. You know what I mean? You have to actually be thinking on that brain wave to actually incorporate that into the relationship. You know, I know to you that means a lot. You know, to me that means a lot. I want my daughter to grow up and know her roots. In order for that to happen, I have to truly understand my roots.
That's a big one.
So I can explain it to her. She has a very wide background. She comes from a lot of places between me and her mom. I also want her to know her mom's roots as well. You know what I mean? Where her side of the family comes from. I think all of that is important. But if we're talking about the general population and the mass of people, I don't think people care about that. People don't think that deeply. You know, there's a very small portion of people that really...
Or do they? Without actually saying which ones. Don't you know a bunch of blank people that will not allow their children to date blank people? And you can fill in those blanks with a lot of different variables.
Facts.
Right?
I think that's more so of just color. I don't think that is culture, because people don't truly understand what culture is. It's more so color, and it's more so this is how we were raised. So we don't want to see that, but they don't truly understand
that what they're doing is outside of their own culture.
Exactly.
Let me say this. Like, you know, just growing up in this area for the last, you know, how many years, a lot of us are cultureless.
100.
Or culture blind.
100.
We grown up in, as I see it, we grow up in North America. Unless you live in a population where you're living in Little Italy, and
next one.
Hell yeah.
You're living in Little Italy. You know what I mean? You're living in pockets like that where the people around you are just heavily cultured. I feel like a lot of us today in our age, that culture question that's in through one area and out the other right away. Right away.
Yes and no. Yes and no. To be honest, because you're right. Having the community and being part of the culture is just a different aspect of being cultured, because you could still be raised and taught about your culture. So that way, if you ever do go somewhere else, that you can bring that with you, right? And that was one of my biggest concerns about how I want to raise my son. I want to raise my son where anywhere he goes, he will be able to adapt to how people live where he goes, which is huge. Because coming back to what you're saying, where you find a lot of people our generation are cultureless or culture blind. A lot of people that we grew up with, went to school with, they couldn't just go live somewhere else and adapt. they would suffer because they're so spoiled. They're spoiled by a
They're
certain.
inclusive to their environment, you know.
Yeah, they're not trying to learn anything different. They're just what they know is what they know, and they don't need to grow.
Bars,
A lot.
literally.
So that if we talk into society, right? And I think now our conversation's getting a lot broader in terms of our surrounding areas. Do you feel like a lot of people understand that some of the decisions they make are just product of their environment? Do you think a lot of people actually understand that some of the decisions the way they think and the way they operate on a daily basis is just because the surroundings that they live in? Do you think a lot of people think and know that?
I don't think so. If you did think like that, a lot of people would change it.
Yeah.
They would change their environment.
Yeah. Like I literally, I knew a guy years ago, and we're in bad circumstances, but he said he would never leave his area because he feared certain things happening to him based off what's happened to other people. And I'm just thinking, you literally just limited yourself to like six blocks.
You live in a box. That's how I hear it.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you stop the potential, the growth, the natural trajectory of your life because of fear. But you're scared because you don't know any better. You don't know any different. So sometimes...
It's a lot of niggas think
Yeah.
like that.
A lot of people, man. When you hear people like, a lot of people that say that haven't been on a plane or they haven't been to the East End. You hear a lot of people that if you go further west a little bit, have you been over here? Nah, I never been over there.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you haven't left your section. You haven't left this corner that you've been on. I'm like, cool, you could hang and do all your things, but you still gotta be able to understand the rest of the world does not think like your surrounding. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Your neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like,
So
you see that a lot with people, unfortunately, that get like incarcerated and shit. Where they're just stuck. Their block is their mentality. They just can't leave that. You lived for 20 years of your life free. You went away for a year and a half. That year and a half changed the rest of your life.
jeez.
That's messed up. And there's 8 out of 10 people, and I could say it 8 out of 10 for real.
Man. So I'm gonna steer this conversation. We about to wrap this up, but what do you, at this point in your life, right? What do you think the biggest lesson? What do you think the most important lesson is that you want to teach your kid? If that makes sense. Duce is hitting me, y'all. I don't know if that made sense.
No, it did. I might have been hit just as hard as Duce. But I would say to be somebody that people can turn to. Not because you have all the right answers, not because you can always get things done, but because you're trusted, your morals are just, you stand by what you mean, and if you can help a friend, you do try to help a friend. Somebody, I would just want him to be someone that you don't seek anything nefarious, but life is life. Should nefarious things come about your path, you're equipped with knowing how to go about it. That would be it. Just a solid, well-rounded person. You don't have to be the best at anything. You just have to be wise at all things.
And another thing I want to just kind of add on to that is like definitely being wise is a good focal point, because you see a lot of people kind of reach out to you when they have situations that are uncomfortable to them and they don't know what to do. Maybe they kind of just call you just for insight purposes. But again, a lot of it I take on myself, where it's just like I want to be somebody that makes sound decisions. You know what I'm saying? And I start reading a lot of books. You know what I'm saying? So where do you think people kind of grow themselves? How do people, grow their character?
By listening.
Yeah.
By listening.
Not
being so quick to speak, but listen and understand and observe, and also having foresight, being able to see a couple steps ahead.
Remember, a tree that's growing is silent. A tree, when it falls, is loud. So you do your most growth in silence and observation. That's the best way to to grow your character is just you have to know when to speak, when to be quiet. You know, and a lot of people are just loud for no reason.
That's a fact.
And you could see, you walk into any room in your life, listen for 15 minutes, and you'll have a general idea of, okay, if this guy talks this much, he could be one of said many archetypes, right? But nonetheless, they're probably not the kind of person that you want to be around. You know?
That's a fact.
Man, I love getting different people's opinion on stuff like this, because it's like you really start to, you really start to open your brain a little bit. I think part of it is listening, you know what I mean? A part of it is going doing your own research, you know what I'm saying? And it's definitely speaking to individuals. I think a lot of times it's just interacting with different people and building that relationship. Again, if you only speak to your own kind of people, then your mind's going to form in a certain way because you're steered by your own kind.
Yeah,
if you start to branch out and speak to different people, like, yo, how'd you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With different people of different, either tax brackets, different cultures, different religions, you can get to see different things in life that help you grow.
The wisest man had teachers. You know what I'm saying? No matter where you are in life, how good you're doing, you gotta always be able to accept the fact that you can still learn.
Be teachable.
Be teachable. Yeah, the teachability index. Yeah. That's a very real thing right there, man.
That is it, man.
Yeah.
That's a fact, man. Like, yo, I think even saying that to every aspect in life, bringing it back to them situations that no one likes to talk about, is being able to, see past your anger and see past your emotions. Whatever emotions you're having, being able to understand that person and see where they're coming from. If they feel a certain way about you, yo, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that, why do you feel that way? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Being able to understand the other side of the world, let's say.
Yeah. A lot of people will understand and some won't. But there's a saying I've had where it's everybody's entitled to one conversation. Don't let that go over your head. Everyone's entitled to at least one conversation. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you're at those crossroads of if it's going to be action, thought, or, conversation, the least you could do is take the conversation. Because then you can still think about whether or not you want to proceed with the action. It's kind of like a gauge system there, right?
Listen, man, we appreciate you coming through.
I appreciate coming by.
We got to link up just now because I need some work done.
Absolutely.
You gotta drop the name one more time, bro. Where we get our artwork from?
You guys follow me on Instagram, Tattoo Costa 905, Skin Poetry Tattoos on Facebook. Yeah.
We're locked down for the minute just because of the surroundings, but you can still hit the tag. You know what I mean? He'll put an appointment in for you when things reopen.
And yo, you gotta. What you working on though? I remember talking to you about a potential docu-series or
I'm gonna be working on a web series where I tattoo artists and I interview them while tattooing them. It's gonna be called Skin, Poetry, and Tattoos.
Jeez, you already know I'm booking my appointment. You already know.
1000%. Salute to that.
Yeah.
That's episode 6 though.
You already know what it is. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you like and subscribe. Ring off in those comments. Let us know what you want us to touch on. Let us know how you're feeling about the show so far. You know what I mean? We appreciate everybody that's supporting. We appreciate all the new subscribers. We reached a milestone last week, over 100 subscribers. So we appreciate y'all.
Run it up.
Yeah, let me say something, man. For you guys who subscribe right now, there's obviously a reason, and we 100% appreciate the support. You know what I mean? If you guys have any questions or comments, you guys have any subjects and things you guys want us to discuss, you know what I mean? Just drop that, bro. Just throw that in the comments and just throw it out there. If you feel like one of us is saying, something that's cap, throw that out there and let's talk about it. You know what I mean? I'm like my man said, everyone's entitled to one conversation. I'm ready to talk about it.
Yo,
you know what I mean?
100%.
I'm ready to talk about it. Let's get it though.
With that, we out, man. We appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.